My name is Pat Uhas, and for those that don't know me or those that I haven't met, I'm the president of the North Lakewood Neighborhood Association, which represents Oak Brook and the surrounding area of Lakewood. Tonight, though, I'm just here as a facilitator for this meeting, not necessarily in that capacity. And along with many or all of you, I'm a concerned citizen who lives in the neighborhood with a wife and 2 small children. I'll be proctoring the meeting tonight along with Keith McNeil, who's standing up front. Tonight's meeting in that capacity is not necessarily a North Lakewood Neighborhood Association, but more a chance to address specific issues that do impact our neighborhood as well. The goal of tonight's meeting is to create a platform for the citizens of the area to voice their concerns to their state legislators directly. If anybody lives in the North Lakewood district and is curious about joining or curious about, wants more information about that, you can see myself, Keith, or Judy, who is helping with the sign-in roster after the meeting. And we can discuss that at that time. Before I introduce our panel of guests, I want to say a couple quick thank yous. First of all, to Marge and the rest of the staff at the Elks Lodge. They've really helped us a lot. We couldn't fit this many people into many facilities in the city, so without them, this couldn't have happened. Thanks to Keith and Judy, the rest of my board, for working so hard to help make this happen as well. I'd also like to thank the following people for attending. From the Lakewood City Council, we have Deputy Mayor Whalen, Council members Boakey, Simpson, Moss, and Barth, and I believe that's everybody from there. Chief of Police Mike Zaro's here, Pierce County Prosecutor Mark Lindquist, and Dan Davis from the Prosecutor's Office, from West Pierce Fire Battalion Chief Michael Dobbs, and there's several other city officials from various different capacities that are here too, so I appreciate you guys all for coming. And we have members of the media, Cairo 7's here as well. I'm personally pretty proud to be a member of a community that has that many people that are willing to come on a Tuesday night at 7. And everyone, this many people are concerned about the well-being of our community, so that means a lot. I apologize if I missed anybody. And now onto our panel, all of which are from the 28th Legislative District. Senator Steve O'Ban, Representative Dick Murray, Representative Christine Kilduff, and candidates for State Representative Mari Levitt and Maya Espinoza. An invitation was sent to the governor's office, but they responded that due to prior engagement, they wouldn't be able to make it. Thank you all for being here and taking your time to be involved in this process. I think I can speak for everybody when you say we appreciate it. I know a lot of people were saying, what are we doing here? So I'm going to get to that. First, I'd like to quickly distinguish what specifically we're here to discuss, and that's 2 fairly specific topics. The first of which is the recent discovery of and continued attempts to place violent and sexual offenders into adult family homes in our area and the precedent that sets. And number 2 is the disproportionate amount of adult family homes in the area and the impacts that has. So it can be easy to veer off topic and get into somewhat related issues, such as issues with registered sex offenders in the city, personal opinions about adult family homes in general, and concerns about, say, security with Western State. Those are all valid topics, but they're so big on their own that for tonight's meeting we need to stick to those original 2 topics and not veer too far off course. Sometimes it's just the way it is that things relate, but as much as we can, let's stay on topic there, just due to time restrictions. The meeting will be broken into 3 sections, essentially. The first of which will be 10 citizens, and at this point I'll ask anybody who signed up to speak to come to the front row, just to make it easier. We've given a chance for 10 citizens, a minute and a half to express their concerns directly to the panel. At that point, that should be more of just a declarative statement than a question, just because there won't be time for back and forth during that portion. The second component will be the panel response, in which each panel member will be given 6 minutes each to talk about what they've done or what they plan to do regarding these 2 specific topics. And the third and final section will be a question and answer session, in which citizens will be able to ask from the crowd specific questions to any of the panel members. And at that point, we'll include the city, and a representative can answer from there, as well as the police department and the Pierce County Prosecutor's Office. So if there's any questions for either the panel members or any of those two entities, they can be involved at that time too. I hope everyone got in front of them a frequently asked questions list that was given at the front. If not, somebody next to you probably has one, so if you could share. Those are the most commonly asked questions to the city and the answers to those. So it'd be good if we all check those out before, so we don't duplicate asking one of those questions. To ensure the meeting stays on track, we want to finish this in an hour and a half at the latest. We'll stick firmly to those timestamps, so it's not personal if we have to stop you, but just to keep the meeting moving. And I ask that we give the person with the microphone the respect they deserve and avoid any shouting out or talking amongst the crowd. That'll just delay the process. I want to thank everybody again for being here. This is a massive turnout. It means that A, this was a topic that needed to be discussed, and B, this many people care enough to come out and do it. And I want to say one last thing, which is that I know this topic can be very contentious, so I think we'd all benefit from just taking a quick second to appreciate what we have here, which is an opportunity to talk about a serious issue that we're all concerned about in person with civility and with the people that need to listen. It's a pretty rare opportunity, so I think we should all take a second to appreciate that. And with that, we'll get started with the public comments.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time from your personal lives to be here, all of you. We are all aware of the current concerns regarding the amount of adult care home businesses located in Lakewood, which a majority are listed to accept level 2 and level 3 sex offenders, as well as severe mentally ill patients with severe criminal backgrounds. We fully understand the need for adult care homes within our communities, with the purpose to care for those that need assistance with activities of daily living. We are not discriminating against any individuals or groups. We are simply exercising our rights to come together for the safety of our families. I have heard comments, we have to work on this, or we need more time. When interviewed by Cairo, Governor Inslee commented that we need the whole state to help solve this problem. My question is, why weren't these things addressed or worked on before the decision was made to allow the placement of these individuals in adult care homes? The safety of our children and families, as well as the safety of the patients and staff of these adult care homes, should have been considered in the beginning, not as an afterthought. The concerns we have, and that you hear tonight from the residents of Lakewood, are valid and should be expected. As you listen to the other residents of Lakewood share their concerns, I ask that you try to imagine yourself living in a neighborhood with 45 adult care homes, businesses in a 3-mile radius, knowing that there could be up to 6 people in each of these homes with severe criminal backgrounds sharing the same sidewalks as your children. Imagine your mom is living in one of these adult care homes with a level 3 sex offender. I, like many of us, are waiting for the I will help you now. Let's address this now. Let's take care of this now. Again, thank you for being here.
Jim, would like to come up?
Panel, my name's Tim Held, and I've lived here in Oak Brook for almost 8 years. And I've been pretty passive when it comes to getting involved in the process. But I've got 2 3-year-old granddaughters that live with me. And I've got 2 group homes on my street. I don't know who's in them. And my wife is afraid to spend any time out in the front yard with our grandkids because we don't know what's going to be walking down the street. And so it's quite disconcerting to me that we have a state and an organization that arbitrarily lets these people go in populated neighborhoods close to schools and, you know, intermingling these folks with a population that they have no business being a part of. In talking to Senator Oban earlier, he mentioned that, you know, there are things that folks have tried to do, but it's just been put off, and the whole state needs to deal with it. The whole state's not in Oak Brook. 45 homes. I had no idea that there was 45 homes in our neighborhood. That's just ridiculous. And so I appreciate your time in coming and taking the ball and doing something about this. Because we don't want somebody to get killed or somebody being molested before somebody decides they want to do something about it. Thank you.
Mikey? Or Mike?
Hi, my name is Mike Asbjornsen. We have property on Fairview, and my son and his wife have just purchased a home over in Oak Brook on the golf course this last November. Mine is more of a question on the parameters of the adult care homes. I understand when they were first set up, obviously you wanted elder care or people that were mentally challenged to be cared for. The biggest question I have right now is going through some of the documentation on the guidelines for that. It is saying on the website that monitoring is up to the individual. And I don't know if any of you have read those particular guidelines. But I was very concerned about that. It sounds like, yes, they can be monitored, but if they choose not to be monitored, and this is by video and not by audio, that they can choose not to have that done. So I think what would be very helpful in a situation like this, if we're dealing with these criminals, is that there are different parameters that are used as the guidelines for the homes. So we have maybe a parameter for our elder care, and then we have a parameter for somebody that needs to be watched. So that would be all that I have to say tonight. I think everybody has a lot of comments to make, and I feel very passionately that this should not be going on. Thank you.
Yeah, Tim Hill? Tim? Oh, you already did? Oh, sorry. Let's see.
Give it a shot.
And Tina?
Right. Thank you for being here. My name is Tina Suddy, and I lived in Port Orchard for 40 years before choosing very thoughtfully to move to Lakewood, knowing it was going to be more expensive for a home, utilities, etc., because I wanted to live within walking distance of my son and my grandchildren. They're a half a mile away. Beautiful little neighborhood in Oak Brook. I can't let them walk because the house across the street from my son is supposed to be a level 3 sex offender home now. So I want to piggyback with what's being talked about for these adult family homes. I'm a nurse. Where are the people to make sure that there's proper care? What training are these people going to have if you're going to care for these level 3 sex offenders that are violent? Because right now there's no care, there's no education, there's no monitoring that people have proper care. I don't want the sex offenders in my neighborhood. Dilute them across the state of Washington. Don't put them all in Oak Brook because it's convenient for those who have to monitor them, the physicians and the mental health system and the parole officers. Our research supports they don't rehabilitate. And the parole officers and everybody else that I've talked to who have actually worked with them in the past, they do not rehabilitate. They are going to offend again. So I would really appreciate not having them in my neighborhood or having all of them there. And if they're going to be, then what are we going to do about increased police patrol and keeping our children safe? Thank you.
You have Nolan.
we're good to go. Nolan Sodi, Lakewood resident for about 12 years. Moved into Turquoise in Oak Brook in March. Like my mother said, right across the street from the next group home. Became concerned about this summer, went to the city council meeting this summer when they decided to announce they're suing DSHS. I applaud them for that. They lost the lawsuit, okay? During that meeting, they mentioned that the city councilman, Boki, mentioned we have 7% of Pierce County's population here in Lakewood, but 28% of the group home population, okay? That tells you we're getting picked on by the state. And I am an educated man, I know this. When you get bullied over and over again, and you allow it to, it's because you allow it to happen. Okay? Plain and simple. You allow it to happen. The city council and the mayor don't want to accept any blame for this, but I'm going to ask you, I read that you are deciding not to appeal the decision. Okay? My question would be, why not? Why not? What's next? Are we going to sit here and let this continue to happen to our city, or are we going to do something about it? Because the more this happens, the more you are allowing it to happen. Plain and simple. And I know some of the people, I've talked with Dick up here, and I know Steve, I've talked with him, they definitely care, but what are the answers?
All right, last but not least, Teresa.
My name is Teresa Donovan, and I'd like to know what your answers are for us if something happens to one of our children, one of our mothers or fathers, us, and if something happens to us, you guys are backing us into a corner where we have to protect ourselves. Vigilantism is not out of the picture. Just because the state has brought us down doesn't mean we're down. They don't go by the rules in this state. We have pot shops open that were against the state constitution as well as the Constitution of the United States. We have injection sites that are open against the state constitution as well as the federal government. So I don't buy this. I don't buy this at all. This should not be happening in our state. But we would like answers. If we hurt one of these people because they go after one of our loved ones, what's going to happen to us? What's going to happen to us? Please, Chief, no? What's going to happen to us? This has been done to us. It wasn't even asked. Thank you.
And that was not last, sorry. Jim. Thought I called you earlier, but I'm sorry.
I may have not heard you, thank you.
I'll start your time.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I really appreciate being here. We live in Lakewood over in Oak Brook, and I have a different perspective on this because I formerly worked for the Department of Corrections. I worked in a prison, and I worked as a community corrections officer, some people call it a parole officer. And I can tell you, I've looked at potentially found the 3 individuals that they're going to place out here. One of them murdered an 11-year-old girl. Another one, rape of a child, 5 years old. Had been assaulting boys for years. And the third one, same thing. It's just sexually assaulting. Folks, we put these people in the commitment center involuntarily on McNeil Island because they were a threat to the community. They're not there because they wanted to be there. They're because the state and the Department of Corrections decided they were a threat to society. I can tell you, I work in the prison, and I can tell you one thing that was comforting. When I got up in the morning, I knew where they were going to be. When I worked as a community corrections officer, God knows where they were going to be. You put these people in these group homes, these are not secure facilities. They do not have to go abide by anything. They can get out and walk the street. You've got Custer Elementary right down the street from where we are. I mean, this is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, they were committed because they're violent and because they were a threat to society. Guess what? They're violent now they're still a threat to society. And I certainly hope someone is going to come to their senses and do something about this. Thank you very much.